morning to the Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, online viewers, and also TV 15 viewers, radio listeners via St. Martin Gov Radio 1079 FM and respective radio stations island-wide. I am Charity Dunker, and welcome to the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, April 26, 2023. At this time, I'd like to invite the Honorable Minister of Justice, Anna Richardson, to address you.
Pleasant good morning, Honorable Prime Minister, colleague ministers, members of the press, Ms. Dunker, the listening and viewing public, and a special good morning to all senior citizens. This morning, I'd like to share some updates regarding the Ministry of Justice. Of course, the topic of focus for the ministry over the last couple of weeks has been that about retroactive or advance payments for our justice personnel. On Friday, April 21st, the Council of Ministers met with the presidents and representatives of the unions representing justice workers to discuss and determine the particulars of the execution of the 25% advance payment in relation to the MOU agreement of 2019, the new salary scales, as well as overtime regulation that will be applied for law enforcement personnel until the date of enactment of the legal position regulation. Based on the CoM decision taken on Saturday, April 15th, to approve a 25% advancement to justice workers via the MOU agreement, the Ministry of Justice made the final agreements over the past weekend, ensuring that all eligible justice workers signed an acknowledgement form, thereby confirming in writing their acceptance of the advance payment. Justice workers who have signed these acknowledgement forms, their names have been submitted to the Ministry of Finance. I have been advised that these workers will be paid by the end of today, Wednesday, April 26, 2023. I also am asked to advise that those who are clients of Republic Bank be advised that your payment could take place on Friday as opposed to today, April 28th. But I know that the bank itself, I've been in discussion with Republic, they will do their utmost to see that they can have these payments on as soon as possible or before Friday. Taking all these activities that occurred leading up to this point, of course, it should be understood that the overall focus on the overall calculations did shift to settling this situation. With this advance payment, it was agreed with the unions and representatives that the ministry will now have the opportunity to refocus its attention to the overall calculations and finalizing same so that the awaiting draft police law, the new salary scales, and the function book can be finalized with these calculations and sent on to His Excellency. In total, with this 25% payment, is understood that a 75% now would be paid to justice employees and the remaining 25% specifically about this MOU agreement, because I know that there is some confusion in terms of when we make reference to this 50%, it's like confusing for some. But we have explained that this 50% is in connection with the MOU of 2019, that figure. When the overall calculations are complete, of course, another discussion is held with the employee from the beginning up until the point of 2023. So I would like for all justice employees to understand that, again, our open door policy is there. If anything is not clear to you, you are welcome to visit us so that you can have clarity. But I want to take this time to say thank you to the Council of Ministers. I want to say thank you to my colleagues. I want to say thank you to my staff, everybody behind the scene between the Ministry of Justice, the Ministry of Finance, and like I said, my colleagues and anyone that I haven't mentioned. You are appreciated for the type of work that was put into this. Like I said, we were in office on Saturday and Sunday. Employees came in as well, and they were cooperative with signing. Some of them wanted more explanation that was given. There was a lot of even department heads. Thank you to Chief of Police. Thank you to our acting head of immigration, our acting head of Lancershire. A lot of teamwork took place to be able to get this to where we are today. So I just want to say thank you to everyone who participated in helping us get to this point. My other point that I'd like to bring across this morning is the fact that we're heading into Juvie. We're heading into Juve, and Juve, St. Martin is one of the largest, I believe, in the world. Yeah. Lots of people come and to St. Martin to enjoy themselves, and we want it to be a festive time of enjoyment for everyone. But we need it to be safe first and foremost. And for that reason, we're making the announcement that no ski mask is allowed during the jam. Um, One might say, "Oh, but during COVID, you had us wearing masks." The actuality of that is that we have in the police ordinance, Article 34, and I believe it's D. It stipulates that one's face is not to be covered. Yes, if you recall, during COVID, we actually had to put a ministerial regulation in place to be able to have persons wear masks for the safety of health, right? For health reasons. That has since been lifted, so the law goes back into place. So I am advising persons who are going to participate in the Juve, by no means is your face supposed to be covered. No shape, no form. Our faces are supposed to be very visible at all times, and there will be a zero tolerance where this is concerned. I've had an extensive conversation with the chief of police as well as the chief prosecutor. We all stand firm on this, and it will result in action, immediate action by police for persons who are not abiding by the fact that your face is not to be covered. And that pretty much brings me to the end, but I want to wish everybody a very safe and enjoyable carnival. I look forward to us having fun. And yes, if it gets too dangerous, the jam will shut down. Yeah. Good? Thank you. Enjoy.
Thank you, Honorable Minister of Justice Anna Richardson, for your opening remarks. At this time, I'd like to welcome and invite the Honorable Prime Minister and Minister of General Affairs, Silveria Jacobs, to address you. Sorry.
It's Carnival. Good morning. Good morning to one and all. To you, of course, Charity, to my colleague, Minister Justice, and those that will be joining us shortly, as well as to the media present, those that are following via the media, social media, and others, and of course, to the hardworking crew of CoM. People of St. Martin, good morning to you. I would like to take this time to wish everyone within the Dutch Kingdom, as tomorrow being King's Day, a happy and safe King's Day. We do know that here on St. Martin, based on our carnival vacation, that the children, as per usual, every year celebrated King's Day games on Friday with a healthy breakfast as well as an opportunity to enjoy the games, which is fully sponsored by the King and his cabinet. Those children seem to have a wonderful time, and I know that DCOM covered that in collaboration with the sports department. So they had their day of fun, and tomorrow is the official day to be celebrated within the kingdom. So advance happy King's Day and a safe one to one and all throughout the kingdom. Of course, we will also throughout the kingdom be celebrating on May 1st, Labor Day. That is on the 1st, but here in St. Martin, we do have extra celebrations, and the long weekend is a much needed one for both relaxation as well as to express our free right to celebrate our culture here on St. Martin. As such, based on the fact that tomorrow is King's Day, actually a holiday, and Juve, the government has given the permission for government's offices to be closed on Friday. So no government's offices will be closed. Of course, those that require emergency services, as per usual, have the opportunity to request such through the normal channels. But the government offices will be closed until after the holidays, after today. Today, on the eve of what is our greatest collective gathering, Minister of Justice already mentioned it, I would like to, in the celebration of Juve, the opening of the morning, something that we've culturally celebrated, I would like to urge everyone and add my, let's say, encouragement to persons to remain vigilant. Even in the moments of celebration, your safety, your security, and that of your children should always be your first priority. It's not anybody else's priority to keep you safe. You have to ensure to keep yourself out of unsafe situations, first of all. So while it may be a time for many to let loose and enjoy, let us not do it to the detriment of others. Take others into consideration as well. Parents, I have put out a public statement on this, and I'd like to reiterate your responsibility is for your children. Please remember to accompany them, all children under the age of 15, at all times. And especially during the Juvie and other public dances, children over 15 are those that are allowed by law. So while it may be difficult for police to enforce, it should not be difficult for a parent to enforce. Once you know what the law is, it is up to you to ensure that your children are not unaccompanied in such gatherings. For your health, please, it is getting warmer and warmer by the day. Stay hydrated. You never know. You think you've taken in enough water, but once you're out in the heat, you will dehydrate quickly. And I urge you all to stay hydrated, to be aware of your surroundings, especially in the dark, and to stay with a group. It is always good to stay with a group of trusted friends. And I ask you to look out for each other. A real friend will not allow you to get so inebriated, so drunk that you do not know what you're doing or have lost complete control. So do look out for each other. Excessive drinking is not good for you, it's not good for your body, and you don't need it to have fun. So do everything in moderation, and everyone will be safe, so that also our police force and other security forces do not have to take the necessary measures to keep you and others safe. And of course, there is the zero tolerance that has been properly communicated by KPSM. So let's have a good time. Let's make it one. We've been, 3 years out of the pandemic. Everyone missed Carnival when it was gone. It is necessary for us to have an opportunity to relax. And I've seen it through my visits to the village that many are just happy to be able to greet each other again, to see each other again. But that doesn't mean that you don't take care of yourself. I spoke to someone last night who said, I had COVID. I was like, what? COVID? You almost forget that it still exists. So in such big gatherings, of course, if you are ill, I would suggest that you keep at home. Stay at home and do the usual to keep yourself, your family, and the community safe. So even as we are celebrating, there are those who are going through moments of grief. There are those who are going through moments of sadness. And I'd like to take this time to especially give my condolences to the Saran family who laid their matriarch to rest yesterday. It was a very, very sad moment, no matter what your age, when your mother passes, mother, grandmother, and the center of your family. And I would like to wish you all much strength in dealing with this. And like I always say, in trying to motivate others, there's, when you fly in geese formation, the head geese sometimes gets tired. And what happens is that one from the back or the middle or the side takes the place of the head geese for a time. So it's time now for someone else to step up and be that person for the family, to keep you all together. So I wish you much strength during your time of bereavement, and to all families actually going through the bereavement process. We also lost a life tragically in traffic on a friend's side last week as well. And so again, I commend the efforts of the President, Louis Mussington, in gifting helmets to the motorcyclists, the scooter riders, your health, your safety. I don't think enough of us realize how many young men, especially, are in wheelchairs, how many are in the grave, or how many simply you don't see them because they're in their homes going through rehab for however long because of senseless accidents while riding. Anyone can have an accident, but going and doing unnecessary stunts in the middle of traffic not only puts you in danger, but it puts others as well. And so I'm asking you to be careful on the roads. Be a conscientious road user. There are persons walking, there are people with children, there are people in cars who have children in their cars as well. What you don't want for yourself, your family, and your loved ones, do not put others in danger as well. And your own head, your own brain, you should protect. So wear a helmet at all times, as it is part of our law. I must say that over this past weekend, I believe it was Monday evening, I had the opportunity to speak at an event that was organized by the Indian Merchants Association and the Sadhu Vaswani Center here on St. Martin, which is a spiritual center. And it is really, for me, uncanny how much our different religions on St. Martin have in common. And at the end of the day, the advice of Didi Krishna, Kumari was in keeping with a lot that I've been saying over the time, especially during COVID, and pushing positivity to the community. And many people thanked me for that, while others, started to say, you can't talk positive when things negative. And I'm like, if we focus on the negative, we will stay in that cycle. So I'm encouraging people to empower yourself, as Didi mentioned. Empower yourself by thinking positive thoughts, no matter what you're going through, that you believe in God, you believe in a higher power, that He got you. He will take you through it. He will get you through the rough times. And so that was a very empowering, for me to sit there and stand and speak on empowering of a nation, and then to sit and listen to a spiritualist, a person deeply connected, speak about empowering yourself and think about how you're giving back. And I think all of us need to think about this, find ways to build our spirit so that we can be the light to shine in somebody else's darkness. So thank you for that opportunity. And I think diversity in St. Martin is something that we should continue to embrace and grow from. I experienced also this past week 2 visits, one from Her Excellency Governor of Curacao, Mrs. Lucille George Wout, who was here with all of the governors of the Dutch Caribbean in meetings with His Excellency Bailey, and took the time to sit with me. As you know, we share common interests as Curacao and St. Martin, and we had a pretty good discussion that will have follow-up discussions with our Minister of Finance as it related to the central bank. I also had a meeting with the State Secretary Van Huffelen to discuss some of the ongoing points. We meet on a regular basis in preparation for Kingdom Council of Ministers, virtually usually, which we did also yesterday. But last Friday, we had some follow-up discussions that had started when I was in the Netherlands last on the 4th of April. And so, of course, the refinancing of the loans was one of the main things. And the same concerns exist across the board where that is concerned, as well as our country package of reforms and how we're planning for that in a multi-annual year planning. So we do have a lot to still discuss and negotiate as St. Martin as it regards to that with the financing. And I look forward to further collaboration within the bilateral discussions that will move forward. Hopefully that we have something tangible by June. That is all for now, and I look forward to any questions that may be forthcoming from the media present. Thank you, Charity.
Thank you, Honorable Prime Minister Sylvia Jacobs, for your opening remarks. If you've just joined us, you're watching the live Council Ministers press briefing for today, April 26, 2023. Thank you for joining us. At this time, we move on to the question and answer session, whereby I'd like to invite and welcome member of the media, Ms. Bibi Shah from SMN News, to address you. Morning.
Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, ministers. My question is a follow-up to your opening remarks, Minister of Justice Anna Richardson. You mentioned the 25% payment that will be made today, possibly today. Can you tell me if the retirees are going to also receive that 25%? And how long does the union give you to finalize the calculation so that these laws can be regulated or finalized?
Okay. So we worked with a list that was provided to us from the unions. This is the same list that was used back in 2020 for the disbursement. I do believe that retirees are a part of this list, but we do have some information that we need to get, like updated bank information, etc. So there are some amounts that will be coming. So there's another batch, let me say that. In addition to that batch, there are persons who indicated that they did not receive and they were entitled to back in 2020. So we are busy formulating that batch to be able to do that full 75 for them. There are several persons that will come up in this second batch that we're going to be doing within the coming days. As far as it's concerned in terms of how long the union will give us, also in my opening statements, I made mention that attention was shifted, from the overall calculations. And one thing that we've done is extended a caution, so to speak, because to be totally transparent with you, we have persons who were not a part of those calculations back in 2019 and didn't receive, that are now approaching and saying, hey, what about us? The constant, or I should say, approach to divert us from getting these calculations done pushes the bar back even more. some 2 weeks was taken away from our financial controller, who is focused on these calculations. So a word of caution was given to the unions to please allow us to finalize. Of course, we're not looking 6 months and these things down the road, but it's meticulous work. We even have officers, and I mentioned this before, that are doing their own calculations and they want answers. They even want answers about how the calculation was done from 2020, which is something a little bit, you have to delve into that. You have to get persons who are part of that process back then to come in and give those answers, because of course this administration does not have those answers, so we have to seek that. So whilst it is a push to be able to get payments, the payments must be accurate, right? That individual, whilst you may move as a group, when we say unions and when we say meetings are being held and when we say go slow is happening, the individual still wants to know about the individual, and they want that to be accurate. In order for that accuracy to come about, that time has to be given. So we've expressed this very, very extensively in our discussions with the unions. I was made to understand even yesterday, while I was in press briefing, 2 union presidents actually visited my office, even though I was in CoM, sorry, not press briefing. 2 unions presidents visited my office because they were with personnel from the other classes who want to know about them. See what I mean? And so when we take that on, it really does slow down the process, because now I have to ask the staff to stop doing the focus on the calculations to bring answers. We have to do this as a team. And that is what I think is lacking between us right now. We are on the final stretch, and there's too much division, there's too much politics being played in the midst here, and it's not a positive thing. So how much time has been given? I'm hoping that they understand the importance of allowing the time to be given in this last stretch so that everyone can be recipients in the end. Yeah? Thank you.
Yes, if I may, Minister, just add to that. We were part of the discussions, the last discussions with the union as a council, and yes, there were some members asking about a timeline, and the other members of other unions said it was better not to put a timeline, and then you miss that deadline again. So timelines were given before, and as Minister mentioned, I believe last week or the week before, even in those meetings, this is something that hasn't been done before. It's encompassing a long period of time. And so every time you get into it, you see more things that you had maybe didn't think about or whatever the case is. So while the minister has a goal in mind, we're going to try our best to meet that goal and then announce when it's done. So we're hoping that we'll be done within short, and we're saying within short without putting a timeline to that, but hopefully with the understanding that it shouldn't be much longer, but do allow, I'm asking really to all those officers, and I've spoken to many on a one-on-one basis, and several were like, they appreciate and understand that we do as a government have serious concern for how long they have waited. We understand their concerns, but anything that is done at this point will only stagnate the process even longer. So please allow the minister and her hardworking staff. I can vouch for the Saturdays and Sundays, and this isn't the first time. This has been ongoing, that they have worked through late nights and weekends to be able to meet these needs. So thank you for your patience thus far. To those who are going to see something on their accounts this week, that's great for you. The others that will come a bit later because they're in another batch, also give us that opportunity to do the due diligence so that we don't have to make corrections after. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to add.
Okay. Thank you, Prime Minister, and also thank you, Minister of Justice. Moving on to Ms. Judy Fitzpatrick of the Daily Herald. You have the floor.
Thank you so much. Very good morning, Prime Minister, Minister of Justice, my colleagues, and everyone else. I have a clarification for the Justice Minister, and then I'll ask my question. I also received a notification that the press briefing is currently not on the government radio. It's last week's press briefing. I don't know if that can be rectified. My editor's watch is listening, and it's last week's press briefing that's on. My clarification, Justice Minister, it's in relation to the payment as well. I just wanted to know, did everyone sign on Sunday? And if not, if there were some that signed, can you give us an estimated percentage of who didn't sign and what were the general reasons? And also, the payment that was made at 25%, what does it encompass? Were taxes, I know taxes is an issue, were the taxes deducted from this payment as well as the last, or will that happen at a future date? So those are my clarifications. And Prime Minister, some months back, the Secretary General of your ministry was suspended, Mr. Hensley Plantine. Can you kindly update us on what is his current status at the moment? And thank you so much.
Yes, I can answer. Yes. So thank you, Ms. Fitzpatrick, for your question. So no, not all of the justice workers signed. What percentage of that, I don't know. Their position, as I saw some sticky notes on some of theirs, they were going to wait for the total calculation to happen. They wanted more clarification. As I mentioned earlier, there are some of them that are really wanting to see these calculations. And I think that was, we had some that are off island due to illness or other reasons. So yeah, I believe that those were the reasons that I got, that I can recall. With regards to this 25% payment, so remember that there was a 50%, this is 25. The remaining 25 is what will go toward premiums and taxes, etc. So I use the word towards because we're not gonna say cover, right? Because the total calculations are not complete, we have no idea yet what the total sum is. Hence the reason you have some officers that are saying, I'm going to wait, because there is a concern if there will be payments that are made over the amount one is entitled to. And I understand that there are persons that are in financial situations, and this injection will help. But there is a concern. But I don't want to be premature about it. It's not something that is definitive at the moment. Hence the reason that the total calculations is such of importance. Yeah. So, sorry. Right. So these calculations that were done, thank you, Prime Minister, were done between the years of 2010 to 2019. So we still have calculations to do between 2020 to 2023. That's all in a part of it. Yeah. So there's still a huge picture to be developed out of this discussion. But the remaining 25% will go towards that. Yeah. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Minister Justice and Prime Minister. You like that?
Yes, the Secretary General or the former Secretary General of General Affairs, I'm sure many would have seen that the function was publicized. So we do not publicize functions unless they're vacant. I don't like to go into the particulars when we're dealing with individuals. So that's all I'm going to say pertaining to the function within the ministry.
I'm sorry, I'd just like to ask, has he been fired? Did he resign? Can you just provide some clarity on that?
As I mentioned before, I prefer not to go into the details of this person's life. We're talking about a function. The function is open, and so therefore it will need to be filled. It is for that person to determine what of their life they would want publicized. I don't think that is a matter of public concern.
Thank you, Prime Minister, and thank you, Judy Fitzpatrick. I'd like to also say welcome to the Honorable Minister of Finance, Artwell Irian. Thank you for joining us, and we'll proceed with Stephen Cerulean of PJD2. You have the floor.
Thank you, Ms. Dunker. Good morning to you, Minister of Justice. Prime Minister, good morning to you, Minister of Finance as well. In the absence of the Minister of Tea, Prime Minister, I was hoping that he would have been here today, but he's not. My question is, we know the Caribbean Tourism Conference will be hosted in Barbados from the 9th of May to the 11th. Different Caribbean countries definitely will be part of this very important conference. Will St. Martin be participating? And if yes, how do you intend to use the conference to at least promote St. Martin from the Caribbean region?
Thank you for that question. Unfortunately, I don't have the details. I know I did hear something about that name, but I can't recall the details of it. And usually it either would be the St. Martin Tourist Bureau or representative of the ministry that would participate in these things, but I would ensure that the ministry sends a response to you in writing.
Okay. Thank you, Prime Minister. Bibi Hadshaw of SMN News, you have the floor.
Thank you, Charity. Good morning, Minister of Finance, Minister Ardwell. There is a controversy brewing with the SCDF. I'd like to know if SCDF received any type of subsidy this year. If not, why not? Did they meet the requirements to receive such subsidy? And as Minister of Finance, that's dishing out a little bit of government money to give to foundations, do you believe it is time to put Carnival on bidding?
Thank you for your question. Good morning, all. And I didn't get the controversy because you mentioned there's a controversy brewing, but you failed to mention that.
Minister, if you're not reading the news, you can, of course, learned about a court case that a Calypsonian, in the first time in history, had to take SCDF to court. And even after a court verdict, there were manipulations with the criteria up to late last night. So that's the controversy. Of course, there is no carnival without bacchanal, but nobody expects this kind of bacchanal.
No, I want clarity because you mentioned controversy, then subsidies. I want to know the correlation between those two. As far as I know, I haven't seen any requests come in from SCDF in regarding to subsidy for this year, unless it's in the Ministry of TIAT. But I know we haven't seen anything by the Ministry of Finance. We haven't processed any payment by us, so I don't know if there is a request in. I can't say that. The Ministry of TIAT would have to say that.
Thank you, Minister of Finance, and thank you, Bibi. Moving on to Ms. Judy Fitzpatrick of the Daily Herald, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. I forgot a clarification for the Justice Minister, so I will just ask that and then go into my question. Regarding the issue of the ski mask not being allowed, Juve's this evening, I was just wondering why the notification is being given so late. You know, maybe everyone might not see it, and you know, you might have a lot of people coming out with that. And also, what will happen? You said immediate action will be taken. What will happen? Will the persons be pulled out of the jump up? Will they be asked to remove their masks? And my question, Prime Minister, last week you indicated that the details of the border demarcation proposal would be released once a meeting has been held with stakeholders. And last week, Wednesday, you did have a meeting with your French counterparts. Are we able to get some information on the details? Because we really want to know what the content of the proposal is and where exactly the border lies. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Judy. Indeed, I did say that, and as it's a short week, I didn't get the update yet. I do have a meeting this afternoon with my Foreign Affairs Department, who is leading in this respect, for me to be updated whether the stakeholder meetings and communications have taken place as had planned. But up until this moment, that was not confirmed, and so I didn't want to come out in the press briefing this morning and make any announcements in that regard. But yes, we also had meetings, as I mentioned, on a monthly basis with my French counterparts, both the Préfet, Mr. Berton, as well as President Mussington on, was it last week, Wednesday afternoon, and we did discuss our upcoming quarterly meeting, quadripartite meeting, which is scheduled for June, and when we would be ready for the signing of the treaty. So that is being finalized between us as well as, of course, France and the Netherlands that form part of it. And as soon as I have the details that the relevant stakeholders have been apprised, those that are affected by it have been apprised, then I will be able to roll out the communication plan as has been prepared by the Foreign Affairs Department.
Yeah. So that's okay. You asked why the notice on the face mask is so late, but the law exists forever. The law has been there, and as I mentioned earlier as well, if we recall back to COVID times, the government actually had to put a regulation in place to allow for masks to be worn. And so I'm confident that the public is aware, because there were a lot of persons who were against the fact that they had to wear masks, yes? So if we were to reflect on that experience, the public is aware that by law, one is not supposed to conceal their faces. And there's a lot of advertisement we've come to notice about these ski masks. And that is what as well clicked the attention that, hey, listen, we need to remind the public that the law exists and that the enforcement is there. You asked what is going to happen. Well, police has full authority to act on that. They have full authority to remove it from the person or ask them, first and foremost, to remove it because it's not allowed. And then the authority lies within police, depending on how that reaction goes. I leave it in their hand. Yeah.
Thank you, both ministers, and also thank you, Judy. Moving on to Stephen Cerulean of PJD2. You have the floor.
Thank you. My question is for the Prime Minister. Prime Minister, I'm happy you made mention of the Q4 to be held in The Hague in June. Can you give us an idea as to the area or areas of discussion during this very important meeting? And we heard from the president of the collectivity basically saying that he would have preferred the treaty being signed on St. Martin, and as a result, he has requested that the foreign minister be here for the signing. Any indication as to whether or not this will be taking place?
Yes, indeed. The treaty, the renewed treaty, let's call it the renewed Treaty of Concordia, will be signed on St. Martin prior to the Q4 meeting. The Q4 meeting is in June, but we're looking at sometime before that, mid-June to be exact, where we'll be going to The Hague. This is where it will be held. For many years, this discussion has been ongoing for many, many years. And so we have not had a Q meeting in several years. I believe the last was in 2018. Yes, 18 or 19, but before this government sat. So there's never been a Q meeting since I have sat, which is supposed to be a yearly or occurrence. The areas of cooperation center around education, security, so between the law enforcement forces, especially on sea, and there's also one other area I can't remember off the top of my head, but the treaty, the border treaty signing will be here on St. Martin. And so once I give the details, then we will know the when, the where, and the how, as well as the signatories. But I did have some notes here particularly about the border. What I can say is that over the years, with this discussion being delayed, there's been a lot of indecision in terms of what landowners can do who have bordering properties. What is pretty good about it is that most of the areas within the dispute areas were owned by the same family. So the owner on the Dutch side as well as the French side was the same family. But in terms of being able to develop that land, you're not able to do anything unless you have the exact coordinates. So this now will give them the opportunity to develop their properties and give them the opportunity to have progress. So I will be able to give the information on when this treaty will be signed as soon as I mentioned the proper communication has taken place internally. Yeah.
Thank you, Prime Minister, and thank you, Stephen. Bibi Hadshaw of SMN News, you have the floor.
Thank you, Charity. My question is for the Prime Minister. Prime Minister Jacobs, there was a bidding, I believe, was placed for the repairs on Festival Village. I believe it was stated then that the repairs should have taken place prior to the Carnival. Now that Carnival is taking place and the repairs was not done, can you give a timeline or say when will this repair take place?
So I guess it was wishful thinking on my part. At the time when we had the whole process that the bidding was done, we knew what had to be done. There was a meeting held with SOG that they could advance some of the repairs once we knew who was awarded the contract. However, when it came time, the delay to get the contracts to the Council of Ministers, etc., took some time, and then it had to be sent back for further review by Legal Affairs. So that formed the latest delay. So then SOG wasn't able to forward and advance the initial demolition of the destroyed routes to be able to start Carnival, without the eyesore present, which is the biggest eyesore. So regrettably, we weren't able to do that. So once Carnival is over, I still haven't seen the finalized contract. So hopefully by then, the contracts would have been finalized and the awardees would have been informed, and then we can execute the repairs without any hitches. So that will be done once Carnival is over. We'll be able to give you the timeline on that.
Thank you, Prime Minister, and thank you, Bibi Hart Shah. Ms. Judy Fitzpatrick of the Daily Herald, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. Finance Minister, can you give us an update on the 2024 budget? And I'd also like to ask you, because I know you were enthusiastically working on this project, the stickers and the whole camera project and everything like that, that would identify the stickers and so forth. Can you give us an update on how that is going? And I know you made it abundantly clear in Parliament that the 2023 number plates are in accordance with the regulations governing it, but it does look small. Are we going to use the plates that we have now for the remainder, for the future, or are you considering anything to adjust it? And thank you so much.
Thank you for your question. In regards to the 2024 budget, right after the budget debate, we started the process of preparing the timeline for all the ministries on having the budget done on time. So we started with first a presentation, even having, I think for the first time ever, meetings with the CFT, so all financial controllers, SGs, financial assistants met with the CFT. We had two sessions already with the CFT, so they also understand the capital expenditure, the different laws, the NFTA, and those different things. And we've also set a timeline, a schedule on the dates when we expect certain information coming in and so forth to try and keep the budget 2024 on time for this year. I don't know exactly where we are now on the timeline, but I believe that 4 ministries already have submitted. I believe we are waiting on 3 more to submit. So I think we are like a week or 2 behind our timeline, our timeline. But with this process, we hope to have it on time. In regards to number plates, in particular, the number plates is done by MB, so it's something that can be adjusted by any Minister of Finance. So it's and the other question was they look small. They are a little small, the ones from last year. And the last question in regards to the sticker project, yes. So that project is continuing. We are actually focusing on two digital projects. I'm pretty sure you've seen the increase, for example, in AI and those different type of things within the last 6 months. And within our ministry, we also push innovation as much as possible. We have had a little delays in terms of the sticker project, in terms of just regarding time and so forth. So we are continuing to push that. And the next step in that project is basically doing a test phase of putting stickers on vehicles and installing a few cameras in certain areas where we could pick them up. But in addition to that, we're also updating our database so that maybe we can have push notifications to individuals in our system to let them know that, hey, your plate is outdated. So not only having the system with cameras, but also push notification from government to individuals via email or even directly to WhatsApp, notifying them that your plate is outdated.
You'll get a chance in the 4th round. There's a 4th round. Thank you very much, Minister Arian, and also thank you, Judy. Now moving on to Stephen Cyrillian of PJD2. You have the floor.
Thank you. My question is for the Minister of Justice. Minister, parking in Phillipsburg is still a problem. People park as they wish, where they feel like. What's the situation? What has been done from your perspective, the Ministry of Justice, to correct that situation?
Thank you, Mr. Cyrillian. So we did publish our new parking and towing policy as we were required to. We have given the opportunity for tow companies to support this service. The police tow truck in itself is awaiting some repairs. So we have some challenges there. I know that my staff is also busy with updating the traffic ordinance, parking ordinance, to have the wheel clamps also available, because we recognize that storage of vehicles is a challenge, and that is, I believe, a part of the problem in terms of towing happening immediately. Of course, you have to have them towed and secured into a place where, when the person comes for their vehicle, it's in the proper order. And I believe that is where we're facing some challenges. But indeed, I recognize the fact that the public is still not respecting the fact that parking should be done in a considerate manner or in proper parking spaces. It does have our attention. It's taking a little time. Sorry for that, but we are looking into addressing it with the wheel clamps, because we do believe when you come out and you're not able to drive away with this vehicle that you parked illegally, it is going to incite persons to recognize they're going to feel that immediately in their pocket, because you have to pay in order for the clamp to be released. And we will not be subjected to have to pay storage space to keep your vehicle. So we're coming up with alternatives to address this matter, and I hope it can happen within the short. Thank you.
Thank you, Justice Minister. We now move into our fourth and final round of questions, whereby Bibi Hadshaw, you have the floor.
Thank you, Charity. My question is for the Minister of Finance, also the Acting Minister for VROMI. Since the VROMI Minister is not here, Minister, can you give us an update on the EDF project for Dutch Quarter? Since this government took office, I believe you guys met this project, not finalized. I know there was a court case, but at which point this project will resume to be able to eliminate the constant sewage water that is plaguing Dutch Quarter and now running over to the front side?
Good. I don't have any specific information regarding that project right now, but I do know that it has the minister's attention and his concern. I believe he also met with them recently, the community recently also, I believe also, and I know he's feverishly working on getting that resolved. So that's the only update I could give on that. I don't have any specifics.
Thank you, Minister Artwell, and also thank you, Bibi. Judy Fitzpatrick of the Daily Herald, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. Minister, you were just speaking a little low. I really didn't get what you said regarding the 2023 plates, or maybe my question was not clear. Is it still going to be our permanent plates moving forward, or will some sort of adjustment be made to increase the site perhaps for next year with the same design and have that be our permanent plates? And my question, Prime Minister, we have no royal decorations this year. I was just wondering what's happening there. Do we have, is the committee still active? Is there a case that there is no interest? Just some clarity on that, and thank you so much.
Thank you for your clarification. We haven't made a decision on that as yet. We really want to see how the sticker project goes. Another idea or concept came up with actually embedding it in the plate also. So we haven't made a decision on that final concept.
Thank you, Judy. As it relates to the RODAC committee, the Royal Decorations Committee, last year we already experienced that there was only one nominee. We believe that there is less interest in St. Martin. There was an indication last year already that we would do something to ramp up interest to ensure that organizations know the process, etc. This did not yield any nominees for this year. And so we will be having meetings shortly. We are going to allow the carnival season to bypass. I think this Eastern Carnival, it makes it very difficult to schedule meetings with all of the ongoing concerns. So while this was brought to my attention earlier, and we've had discussions, I meet also monthly with His Excellency Governor Bailey, we will be calling the last functioning RODAC committee together to find a solution on the way forward. As you know, they've been serving for quite some years, and we do want to see what we need to do to get the ball rolling again so that persons who deserve recognition within our community can be able to be recognized as such. But it does come from the organization. So the different nonprofits, et cetera, would have to put forward a name. There's a process, et cetera. So we have to look at what we need to do to bring it more to the forefront, that people are aware of the process and what they need to do in order to bring honor to someone they see in the community that is deserving of such. So you can look forward to later on in May, June to get an update on that.
Thank you both ministers, and thank you, Judy, for your question. Mr. Stephen Civilian of PJD2, you have the fourth and final question.
Thank you, Ms. Dunker. My question is for the Minister of Finance. Minister, we know of the Caribbean pending rollout of the Caribbean Guild. This has been a point of discussion in Curacao lately. Persons are asking the question, why the name Caribbean Guild and not St. Martin Curacao Guild? Some people strongly believe that the information process leading up to the introduction should have already started, public information sessions, that is. How soon do you intend to at least bring clarity to what's happening in terms of the Caribbean, the pending introduction of the Caribbean Guild in 2024?
Thank you for your question, Stephen. That process already started. If you even go on the central bank Facebook page and different social media pages, radio ads, and so forth, so that process has started to roll out now. There is a plan in place to have a heavy push for it over the next year, actually. So there is a plan to continue to push the information out. And again, as I mentioned in Parliament, this wasn't a decision made by this government. This was a decision made going into country status that we would have this guild. So actually, we are 12 years or 13 years late by not having this done. So that process of bringing clarity, information, and so forth has started and will continue to get bigger snowball effect, basically, as we get closer to the date.
Thank you, Minister Arian, and also thank you, Stephen. Thank you, members of the media. To the honorable ministers of the council and also members of the media, this brings us to the end of the live council ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, April 26, 2023. For rebroadcast, be sure to tune into St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM, also Telms, Tel TV Plus, and also TV 15 for video on demand, the official Facebook page, Government of St. Martin, and YouTube channel, Government of St. Martin. On behalf of our Department of Communication and the Government of St. Martin, we bid you a safe and happy carnival further. Blessed day.